room. So we must work hard to ensure that we are up to date with those skills for big data mining and analysis and so many other things. So we believe by the end of the training, you'll be able to add value to whatever you do, and you continue learning so that you are able to remain relevant. I want to thank CPA Godfrey Kakala for continuing to train members of the Institute and other members globally on data analytics, on advanced Excel, and he has done great work from what I hear from members who attend and the employers who give comments on what the knowledge they have acquired regarding budgeting with Excel, financial reporting with advanced Excel. We thank you so much for that. And this is, as I said, this is it is a current, emerging, and a future skill. So we have no shortcut. The only thing is to open our minds, our hearts, and welcome this new skill, and we embrace it. So without further ado, I want to welcome CPA Godfrey Kakala to take on the training. And I believe before the trainer comes in, you all have laptops wherever you are. I believe you are ready to follow what the trainer will be telling us and how, so that you are able to work on it. And therefore, we shall share the presentation and the video on your emails so that you continuously practice. And then when we come back in another training, we shall start from there. Maybe we shall have advanced data analytics. So I want us to be in that way. I thank you. Godfrey, you are most welcome.
Thank you, Ambrose, and thank you all participants who have come in this morning. You'll allow me to remove this mask for better communication, since I'm here alone, so I don't need to social distance with you people who are online. Thank you. Like Ambrose has said, I'm Godfrey Kakala. I'm a financial modeling and valuation analyst, and I'm also a member of the Institute. So I'm a fellow accountant. So the topic today will be handled in line with what most accountants do. It will have the bias for accountants. So the world of data analytics, like Ambrose has said, is growing wide. And if you have to look at some questions, do you have a lot of data? Certainly data is now the new thing. All of us are generating a lot of data, either consciously or unconsciously. But the other question is, what do we do with that data? Do we make anything out of it, or do we just accumulate the data and forget about it? I know consciously or unconsciously, each one of us is using a mobile phone, and these smartphones are constantly collecting data around us. And at a certain point, maybe you need to get down and say, what is all this data about? And then maybe you need to see, how do you actually analyze it? You may be having a small grocery store somewhere. You have a young boy there whom you are training. Or you may be having an accountancy firm. You're collecting data about your clients. But how are you analyzing it? Does your data tell the story it needs to tell? Or is it just redundant data that is actually giving you headache? Because data should actually be able to help you make useful decisions for improvement. So if you cannot positively answer to these questions, then this training is for you, because what we have to do here is take you through data analytics. And the world of data analytics is very, very wide. So I'll only restrict to what the Institute has asked me to do. That is data analytics with Microsoft Excel. So what we'll be doing today is look at what is in Microsoft Excel for us. But first of all, at Data House Business Solutions, where I work, our mission is to help you people so that you can work smarter with Microsoft Excel. This tool is really awesome, but most times we don't do much with it. We just scratch around and think we know much, but we don't. But when you explore what Microsoft Excel can do for you, you'll find that you start working smarter. Things that used to take you probably some days, hours, you can reduce them to a few minutes or even seconds. So improving productivity at your workplace is our main goal, and we help you get those skills that turn your mechanical tasks into some semi-automated. So our focus is mainly on key Excel functions and formula. We don't go into a lot of things. This whole thing of advanced Excel, I think, is overrated. There's nothing like advanced Excel. You want advanced Excel and then do what with it? I think the most important thing should be, how do I use the little I know, whether it is still basic or you are in intermediate there or advanced. But the best is to have just a mix of all the three. Because advanced Excel alone is also not useful without some basic elements of Excel. Actually, most times you'll find that the good users of Excel are rarely using those advanced features, but they are just very creative with the little they know, both basic, intermediate, and advanced, and they become awesome in what they do. So this thinking of saying that I must master advanced Excel, I think, is overrated, and I think we need to get out of that box. So our focus is on a few formulas and functions which we think will enhance productivity by simplifying and automating some tasks. So we'll be going through what some of those formulas and tools are. So before COVID came in, our classes were physical, and you can see they were really big. But now we are reduced to each one being in its small space, and then we can talk these things over the internet using Zoom. So with this new approach, of course, the one-to-one touch that we used to have in the physical class is not there. So what you have to do is actually listen in, try to follow as much as you can, and try to take notes so that when the institute shares this video later on, where you had a challenge, you can go over, you can replay the video. They will be sharing the file I will be using. You can also try to do the same things we're doing in this video, so that at the end of it, you master what we're going through. Because teaching data analytics in just 3 hours is not very possible. But we'll try our best here. I'll try my best to give you the very basics of what you need to learn. Because my interest is that you'll build on that. You'll not just listen to this and then come out and say, I'm now okay. No. This is just to open up your mind to what you can do with Excel in that field of data analytics. So you'll be able to build on that. You'll be able to go and find other material either on the internet or using other methods, or get some colleague who is really good at Excel who can take you through some of the challenges you may have identified during the training. Our clients at Data House Business Solutions, the client list is still growing. What we have put here is just a few of them, but we have quite a number of them out there, and we really thank you for the opportunity you keep giving us to share what we know in this field, and we look forward to other engagements with you. So today's session objective is to introduce you participants to data analytics using Microsoft Excel, tools and formulas, so that you are able to identify trends, patterns, anomalies, and exceptions within your data, because that's what analytics is all about. You want to identify certain trends, you want to identify certain patterns, anomalies, or exceptions within your data. So when you look at the data process, or maybe before even going into the data process, what is data analysis, first of all? From a layman's point of view, I'll not go into those big and catchy words. To me, data analysis is simply turning raw data into useful information for decision making. And And the process is you collect, you process, you clean, you analyze, and you communicate that data. Today's training will focus mainly on cleaning, analysis, and communication, because the file we have, or at the point where we sit as accountants, most of the data has already been collected using whatever documents we issue out there. It has been processed using our ERPs. And then the only thing that remains is how do you clean what your ERP gives you, or whatever system is you're using to accumulate data. How do you analyze and how do you communicate? So that's where I restrict myself. I will not go into those details of data analytics. We can take a whole day discussing data analytics, but I'll just restrict myself to that. So we'll be looking at how to import data into Excel, how to clean up data before it is analyzed, do a bit of sort and filter, look up information using VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP if it is in the horizontal way, make decisions using the if statements, highlight information using conditional formatting and rules, create pivot tables and pivot charts, and then of course also look at visual presentation of your data using charts. So that in summary is what we have on our menu today, and I hope you'll find it useful at the end of it, and I hope I'll be able to present it within the 3 hours I've been given. So what can you do with the analytics? With analytics, you are able to analyze 100% of your transactions for specific indicators and trends. You can also easily merge, normalize, compare from different systems and sources, comparing data. If you are into fraud detection, you can quickly identify fraud before it becomes material or front page news. You can use data analytics to strategically realign resources to focus on key transactions. And of course, instead of going for a small sample, because you are able to analyze 100% of your transactions, you significantly reduce your sampling errors. And of course, you are able to improve your internal controls. And of course, last but not least, time. Time is a key resource. And every time you save through automation or repetitive tests is really a very important aspect of our lives. Because we need that time to do other things. We can invest that time into doing other things and earning ourselves more resources, like money. The global data sphere, the International Data Corporation defines 3 areas where data is being created. And these are the core, where you have traditional and cloud data centers being set up. So companies like Microsoft, companies like Facebook, companies like YouTube have a lot of these cloud centers with lots of data. Then you have the edge, the enterprise hardened infrastructure, mainly telecoms. You have your cell towers, brand offices, etc. Then endpoint users like ourselves with our PCs, smartphones, Internet of Things devices, etc., etc. So these are the 3 areas where the International Data Corporation defines as areas where data is created and kept. And of course, the amount of data we produce worldwide is growing, and there is no sign that it's going to slow down. COVID-19 has actually even increase this further, because now most things are done virtually. And most of this virtual workflow is relying on a lot of data. So this is not going to slow down. And for us to make anything out of data, we must learn how to analyze it and make useful decisions out of the data we accumulate. For example, the Association of Fraud Examiners, in their 2018 report to the nations of occupational fraud, they claim proactive monitoring was associated with 52% lower losses and frauds detected in half the time. by monitoring what is happening around us through data analytics, you can see 52% lower losses and frauds were detected. I think this is significant, and this builds on the case for why data analytics is really a very important topic for us as accountants, and for anybody actually out there interested in making useful decisions out of their data. Types of analysis testing, you have the ad hoc, which we are going to do today, where the goal of ad hoc is to get an answer to a specific business question or business questions, explore and investigate data, and then look for transactions and see if there is anything to indicate a trend has occurred or identify opportunities. So that's what we're going to do today. Some ad hoc. We have just some information there and we want to analyze, and that is it. But then on the other side, you have the repetitive or continuous, where organizations are setting up scripts to run against large volumes of data to identify anomalies as they occur, or trends, or whatever it is. These scripts are also supposed to improve the overall efficiency and consistency in the quality of your data analytics process. And of course, when they're building these scripts, they put in notifications that will pop up when the key trends or anomalies are detected. So as the organization is running, the script is running at the back end and is able to do analytics. So let's look at today's toolbox. We have both Excel tools and then we have formulas. The tools, we have analysis TOOLPAK. Now, for anybody who uses Excel and you really are into analytics, if you have not installed the analysis TOOLPAK, then it means you are not exploring the power of Excel for data analysis. The analysis TOOLPAK is set up to do complex analysis of data. We'll look at it. The other tool that we need to look at within Excel that probably we rarely use is text to columns. We'll see what it does. There's another one called Go To Special. We'll see also what it does. Then Excel tables, these are awesome. They came in from Excel 2007, and they have simplified the way we keep data in Excel. Of course, they use also sort and filter, conditional formatting, subtotals, pivot tables. Wow, that's the most awesome tool in Excel for analyzing large volumes of data. We'll also go through it. And then pivot charts. Then on the formula side, we have simple formulas like left, right, mid. We have the max, we have the mean, we have count, sum, average, really basic formulas, sum if, some ifs. I think this one, we have been through it. Those who have attended my trainings, we have been through this one several times. VLOOKUP, we have also looked at this one several times. Concatenate, this one, we'll look at what it does and how useful it can be. We'll also look at some date and time functions. And then finally, index and match as a substitute to your VLOOKUP. So that is our toolbox. And of course, in 3 hours, we cannot go comprehensively over everything in this toolbox, but we'll try to apply each of these tools and formulas where necessary. So if you find one very exciting, look out for the video that will be shared by the Institute, and you can replay it and follow what this training is all about. So let's, maybe before I go there, if you have any expectations other than what is outlined here, please, you can post something in the Q&A. I'll be monitoring it and then try to respond where appropriate. Okay. So let's go through the analysis TOOLPAK. If you open your Excel and go to your data tab. If to the right, you don't see anything like data analysis, something that looks like what is there, data analysis to the right, then you have not installed your analysis TOOLPAK. And it's important that if you are into deep data analytics, that you install the analysis TOOLPAK. We may not use it so much today, but you'll find it very useful for really complex data analysis. So to load the analysis TOOLPAK for the first time, I'll just open Excel and take you through that. Let me get Excel running. Okay, to do that, you need to open Excel. Then from your file ribbon, go and select options. Then down there, you'll see add-ins, then Excel add-ins in the manage drop-down list. Then click on Go button, and then you should be able to select the analysis TOOLPAK from that list. Why am I not getting my files here? Okay, let me get a file to share so that we are able to follow this. I hope everybody can see the file. Are you able to see? Ambrose, are you able to see the file I'm sharing? Ambrose. So I hope the file is I hope members are able to see the file. So I was saying, for you to install the analysis TOOLPAK, you need to go to File, and File is to the leftmost of your ribbon. Then you click down there, you'll see Options. Then you come here to Add-ins. Then down here where it says Manage Excel Add-ins, you click on Go. So make sure Analysis TOOLPAK is ticked. Once that one is ticked, just say OK. And then you come to your Data tab. And then you see to the right here, you have Data Analysis. So under Data Analysis here, when you click on it, you'll see the several analysis tools here. ANOVA single factor, ANOVA correlation, covariance, descriptive statistics, all that kind of analysis is possible in Excel. So this is a tool that is rarely used. Some people buy their computers and discard them. They use Excel for several years, but they never explore this side of data analysis. But this is where all the power for data analytics lies. So for today, we may not go so much into it, but it is important that if you are into deep data analytics, that you have the analysis TOOLPAK installed. Okay. So let's go back to our presentation. I hope you now have installed your analysis TOOLPAK, and I'm sure as you explore more about data analytics, you'll find it very, very useful, especially for those guys who are into statistics and everything else that does a lot of this. So what is in the analysis TOOLPAK? We saw there's descriptive statistics, there are histograms, there's regression analysis, there are correlations there, sampling is there. So you guys who do your sampling and you're wondering how to do sampling, it's right there in data analysis. Once you have installed your analysis TOOLPAK, you can do moving averages, you can do t-tests, you can generate random numbers, and a lot of more stuff in there. So please find time, do more research about the analysis TOOLPAK and how it can help you in your data analysis. Now let's go into the real stuff. Most times the data we are going to analyze is not in Excel. It's either sitting in our ERPs or any other database somewhere. It may be my SQL server, could be Access, it could be a text file, it could be anything else other than Excel. So before you start the analysis part of it, you need to bring this data into Excel. Now, before Excel 2007 came in, we used to have Excel 2003, and the limitation there was that we only had about 65,000 rows of data that we could work with. From Excel 2007 up to Excel 2019, we now have about 1,048,000 rows that we can work with. But then from around Excel 2013, there's a new feature that came in called Power Pivot. This allows you to analyze your data from where it is sitting. So even if it is 10 million rows, 20 million rows of data, all you need to do is link to where the data is sitting, and then you can run the analysis in Excel using Power Pivot. So Power Pivot is a new tool. It was introduced around 2013 there. Explore it, it's amazing. And related to that, there's now Power BI, which a lot of organizations are running to. But if you are still struggling with Microsoft Excel, I wonder how you're going to do Power Pivot and Power BI. So first up your game in Excel, then you'll find it a lot easier dealing with the other two. So how do we import data? I'll go back now into Excel and we start real work. So unless if there are questions, let me just see. Shall we look at HLOOKUP too? Yes, we can. It's just the reverse of VLOOKUP. So if you know VLOOKUP, nothing much really, but we will see where to fix it. Okay, let me now bring the file and we start serious business. So I have here an Excel file, an empty sheet. I want to import data from a text file, which I have stored on my computer somewhere. So I must know first which folder, which location this file is stored before I even think of importing it. So to import, the process is simple. You go to your data tab. So our data tab on the ribbon is right at the center there. Then to the left here, you'll see get external data. So get external data allows you to import data from different sources. You can import from Access. You can import from the web. You can import from text. And you can also import from other sources. If I click other sources, you'll see there's my SQL server there from analysis services, Azure Market, OD data feed. The OD data feed may be useful if you have your ERPs and your technical people know how to connect you to that. Then there's a data connection wizard, Microsoft query. So all these are available for you to use. But for now, we're going to import from text. So when I click, it takes me to my desktop, and there's a folder there with my text files. So I select the file I want to import, and that's the data file 1. Then I click import. So when I click import, it brings this import data wizard, text import wizard. Now, if you have used the text to columns, it's almost the same thing. It's actually the same. It's just changing because the procedure is actually the same. So here it says delimited. So delimited means your data is separated by characters such as commas or tabs for each field. So the text file I'm importing was a tab delimited text. So this one is actually separated by tabs. So I'll use the delimited. But if you know your data has fixed width, where the columns have a certain standard fixed width, then you'll use the fixed width. So your columns are aligned in, your fields are aligned in columns with spaces between each field. So that one, then you can use that. But most times, if you're using CSV, that is the comma separated values, and then the tab delimited, then, or any other separator that may not be comma, then it is the delimited that we use. So then you click next. So you see, if you're not using tab, if you know that your file is a CSV, then here you'll come and tick comma. So you remove the tick mark from tab and you'll have to use comma. But mine is a tab delimited, so I click tab, and you can see that the lines for each column are drawn in the data fields down here. You can just check and see. So you'll find that everywhere you find a line, that means that's the end of that column and the beginning of another. Okay. So you can click next if you want to define some of these fields. For example, the first one here, I can define it that this is my date. Okay. And I should be able to know what the date format is. For this one, it looks like it is month, day, yeah, because I can see 1, 15, 20. And 15 cannot be a month, can only be a day. So the MDY is correct. Then you can continue clicking. For this one, I know this is text. That one is also text. But these ones you can ignore. You don't have to do it, and then just click finish. So when you click finish, it will tell you, select how you want to view this data in your workbook. That one ignore. For now, where do you want to put the data? And it chooses the first cell there. I want to put it in from A1. So I'll change, I'll not use what he has given me. I'll go and select A1. So this can be changed. So it was imported A1. I'm not adding it to a data model. I'm not creating a new worksheet. I'll just say, okay. So this is what was in my text file. So it has come to Excel. And this is a key challenge that a lot of people get. You get your data. It is not well organized. You can see there are empty columns here. And that's not advised when you're using data analysis tools. You are not supposed to have empty columns like this. You can see after every record, there are empty rows. And that one is also not advisable. So the first thing we have to do is clean up this so that we have a clean database that we can use for data analysis. So to clean up this, we have to first know what do we want to do. First is remove empty rows. All these blanks here, all these empty rows. And by empty row, it means a row running from left to right without any record at all. So you can see there are so many of them. There are no records in between there. So to clean these rows, I'll select my first column, the data in the first column. Okay. Because this is a small database, so I'm able to just scroll. But if it is a huge database, then what you're going to do is you click on the first record, hold your control and end. Control end. Okay, so when you do control end, it will take you wherever it wants to go. But go and click an empty cell there and then control arrow key up. So it will take you to the last record there. And then control shift home. So that is if it is a really, really huge database, maybe 1,000 rows, 10,000 rows, 50,000 rows. Because if it is 50,000 rows and you're going to scroll, probably you're going to take some good minutes, which you could actually use in doing other things. So that keyboard shortcut where you use your control end takes you to the last cell down there. Then select an empty cell there. Then you use your control shift arrow key up. And then it should take you, control shift home, then it should take you back up to the first cell with everything selected. So once all the cells here have been selected like this, in our toolbox, I told you there's a tool called Go To Special. So I want to go to that tool to enable me select only blank cells in that range. So I'll go to my home tab. The Go To Special is under Find and Select, and then you'll find it there, Go To Special. If you don't remember that, you can just click F5. F5 will bring the Go To Special. So you click here, Special, and then you go to blanks. Let me just do that again for the benefit of those who may not have followed. The Go To Special is under your home tab. To the right, you'll find Find and Select, and then you'll select Go To Special. So the Go To Special dialog box will appear there. And what we're interested in here are the blanks, which is this one here. So we click blanks and then OK. So you see that it is only blank cells that are selected now. Where there's text, there's no selection. Okay? So then the next thing for us to do is Control minus to delete the blank cells. And here I want to delete entire row. So Control minus to delete blank cells and select entire row and then say OK. So you see all the blank cells there have gone. And I have now my data running from top to bottom without any blank row there. So I can do the same for the columns. I also select to the right. Again, Go To Special, select blanks, click OK. So you see only the blank columns are selected, then Control minus, and then entire column, and then OK. So now I have a clean database here. I can use my arrow key, start from A1, hold my control, arrow key down will take me to the end, arrow key to the right will take me up to L26, arrow key up. So I can move around my data as one block. And that now brings us to data that is ready for analysis. So at least we have gone through that step of cleaning. We have removed blank space, blank rows, blank columns. Now we have data that we can analyze. Okay. So now we start looking at what are some of the tools that we can use to analyze this data. We'll start with some basic ones. Because this data made it deliberately small, but there's a bigger database, which when we get to the bigger analysis tools, we look at. This one I've made it deliberately small so that we are able to all follow. And if you wish to ask anything, you can type in the Q&A. I'll keep monitoring it just to see how I can bring everybody on board. Okay, so the first thing is, let's do the basics, the real basics. Sort is a way of analyzing data. Okay, so we can sort this data. For example, we can sort either by date, we can sort by salesman, by market, by any of these fields. But before I go there, let's try to understand what is in this data. The first row there, which I've made bold, these are our headers. So these are our headers, and each column must have a header in your data. You cannot have data that has no header like that. Each column must have a header for you to say you have clean data. What comes below the headers are our records. So each record must go in its own row. So you see that row there, row number 2, is having records for a transaction that happened on that day to Simon from the West, for that brand, for that size, for that quantity, for that age, that quantity, that color, that price, that payment type. This was just a reverse date. That one I'll deal with it later, and for that gender. So you'll find that each of these records is relating to something different. They may be records on the same date, but they may not be all explaining the same thing. So each record takes its own row. I know people who keep their databases where you have the headers clearly out like that, but instead of having things as a database, they'll keep this for January, then somewhere again, they create the same headers again, and then put February, and then start accumulating the same information. Then another split there, and then March, and so on and so forth. You must learn how to keep data in Excel. Excel is not a very good database, but if you know how to use it, it can help you keep some useful information. If you have seen information from all your databases, ERPs, whatever they are, it comes in this kind of setup. So then from here you can analyze and create the reports, the information you want. But most times, either because of our lack of skill, we are always in a hurry to create small reports here, and we call it data. Okay. So let's try. Our first thing is to sort by market. Now, sorting, there are various ways of sorting. The first one, you can either right click, and then you'll see sort is there. And then there's sort A to Z. So A to Z will sort that field in ascending order. But let's try to see how it does it. I'll just deliberately put a color on that record, so that if I'm only clicking one cell, does it sort this entire record or does it only sort the column where my cursor is? So if I right click, sort A to Z, wow. So you see that it actually sorts the entire database, not just that column. So you see this record here has moved with everything it had. It did not only just sort the market, but it sorted the entire database with all its records. So that's how powerful Excel is when it comes to sort. The other way you can access the sort is when you go to your data tab, and right there you'll see A to Z, that is in ascending order, Z to A, that is in descending order. And if you want to sort multiple fields, then you'll use the sort. Okay? Let me try to put in some more color. So that we see how sort handles some of the things. So I have some 3 records there with the yellow. Let me also have some other 2 with green. Okay. So again, instead of only sorting ascending order or descending order, because you can also do sort Z to A, this will reverse the other one. The other time it was A to Z ascending, Z to A will be descending. You can also sort by color. Okay. Put selected cell color on top, put selected font color on top, or put selected cell icon on top. So you can also do by icons, by color, or whatever. So if I want, say, this yellow to come on top, I'll right click, sort, put selected cell color on top. So I do that, and you'll see that all the yellows are now at the top. And remember, we said the first row is our headers. And you can see that Excel is also not abusing that rule. It also recognizes that the first row is actually headers and brings everything and stops just before it. So if you don't have headers here, it will assume that the first row is a header. That's what it does. Okay, so we have seen sort A to Z, that is ascending order, sort by color. Let's try to click where there is a date and we see. Does it still tell us sort A to Z and Z to A? So when you come here, it will be saying sort oldest to newest. How did it know? Or newest to oldest. So it detects and knows that these are dates by identifying what is kept in that field. So when you say oldest to newest, it will be again in ascending order from the least date to the most recent. So when I do that, you'll see that it now sorts that in that order. And you can also sort oldest or newest to oldest. You see that. So that's how powerful some of these features are. They're simple, but they're very good. So let's look at multiple sort. So for multiple sort to happen, you have to come to your data tab. Your data tab here. You click on sort. Okay. So you want to start, what is it that you want to have as your key sort field? For example, if the intention here is for me to have the markets as my primary sort field, then I'll make market the first one in that list. So that all the other ones are just secondary. For example, this is what I mean. Sort. So I want to sort by, start with market, sort on values, and I want to sort in ascending order, A to Z. Then I add another level. Within markets, sort by brand, and maybe also A to Z. I can add another level within the brand, sort by age, and also smallest to largest. And then I say, okay. So you see, it first sorts all the east and tells you the brand is there, the sizes are there, the ages are there. Then next, it also sorts north, the records for north, and also follows the same order. Then south, same order, and then west, same order. So that's how to do your multiple sort. Okay. Somebody is asking, thank you, CPA Kakala. I would like to know why some of the dates in the reverse column align to the right and others to the left. Thanks. I'll explain that when I come to that feature. I put it there deliberately because it means those dates are actually not in the correct date format. But we'll come to that when we're looking at dates. Okay. So we have seen sort. The other feature that you have that you can use, which is also basic, is filter. So filters are also very powerful. Now, filters enable you to only see particular type of data that meets the criteria you want. So it will hide all the others that does not meet the criteria, but only give you that one that meets the criteria you want. As opposed to sort, which gives you things in their order and everything remains in the list. For filter, again, filter, you can either go to data, there's a filter there in the middle. When you click, it switches on these filters for each field. So you can see each column header has a filter. Drop down to it. Now, this is a very powerful tool. When you switch on your filters, you are able to do a lot of other things that your sort ordinarily when you go through the normal processes may not give you. So let's look at, first of all, filter by date. You can filter this by date and will come to oldest to newest. Sort, you can either sort oldest to newest, but the filter by can be here. You can filter by colors. Say, for example, if I want only the green, so it hides everything else and gives me only those cells that are highlighted green. So if I wanted to copy this, you just highlight Control C, and then you are able to copy that and take it to another worksheet. You can also filter by dates. So when you come here to filter by date, let's clear filter color. So remove that. The filter by dates, this date filter is probably one of the most powerful. So you can filter dates that are equal to a certain date, that are before a certain date, that are after a certain date. You can filter records that are within certain dates. Now, tomorrow, today, these ones, this is when you're on a live record. This month, last month. For last month, yes, if you're in a live environment, you can filter these. But the first 4 here are probably the common ones that we can use. Those that are equal to a certain date, before a certain date, after a certain date, between certain dates. So those 4. So for example, if I come here and say, I know here looking at the filter, it tells me these are records of 2020 running from January to June. Now, depending on which version of Excel you are using, you may not have your information come out like this. So you may be having just the dates listed here. But with the newer versions, 13, 16, 2019, it gives you this grouping. So if I come here and I say, I want to filter records that are between certain dates. So it says it is after or equal to. So here I'll either type a date that I know, or if I have it written somewhere, I'll reference to it. So since I don't know what it is, I'll type in March 1st, 2020. So if you are typing in here, please be mindful of the date format of your computer. When we come to looking at dates, that's where most of the errors are made. And that's where most of the data analysis fails. So this is March 1st, 2020, because my computer is American setup, so I have to use that. So I want records that are greater, that are after or equal to 1st March 2020 and maybe April 30, 2020. So when I say okay, it is only going to display records that meet this criteria. So when I say okay, so you can see that all these records here are between March and April. Okay? Don't be confused by the dates there. Mine is starting with a month, then the date, then the year. So if in your mind you're used to having the day, month, and year, you can say, but some of those are not April. For example, somebody may think this particular record is November, but that is 11th March. Okay, so that is how you can use the filter for dates. Let me just clear that. Then you go to where there's text. You can again filter by color, but there's also the text filter here. You can again equal to, maybe you're looking for a specific name, which you can actually pick from here, or does not equal to. So you're looking for certain fields that does not have that name. Begins with. So if you have names that begin with certain letters you're looking for, then begins with is there, or ends with. If you're looking for names that end with certain letters, for example, if I come and say ends with N, then I say, okay. So you see that this is John, Simon. So here you only have John and Simon because all of them end with N. Okay. If I come with and say contains, okay. If I come and say contains, and then I put a O, then this one will give me all names that have a letter O somewhere in their spelling. Or I come here and say does not contain, just like, so if I say does not contain maybe letter X, so it will filter and look for anything that does not contain X. So here all my records don't contain X. And then you can do your custom, but these filters are very powerful when you are analyzing lots of data. And for people who are out there looking for certain indicators in their data, so that's where you have to look. If we go to age is a number. When you go and filter, you see here now it says number filters. For date, it said what? It said date filter. So when you come to a number, it says number filter. Again, you can do equal, does not equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So you have all those options within your filters. Now, filters, normally we underlook them. Most times when people are doing filters, they're just coming here and then they just look and say, I want a net. And that is all they do with filters. But there's that power that you should explore, which is on either your text filter, just before that space where it says search. Okay. Now, the search one, if I come here to brand, okay, you see here where it says search, okay? Search is like contains. So if I put here and then I say search EAL, search is more like should begin with. If I say CHA, you see it gives me Chanel and then Michael, that, okay? If I come and type VE, so it brings that one. So as you type, it will go and identify records that match the criteria you're searching for here, and then you see that that search is reduced only to that, and then you're able to proceed. Okay. So after you've done your filter, for example, if I want only sales for Chanel, you may also want to do multiple filters. So you have sales for maybe Chanel and Vera Bradley, those two. Then you say you only want those people that took, when you come to quantity, and then you go to number filter, you want all those where sales are greater than 20 units. So I type in 20, and then you'll see that maybe there I didn't have any. So come back to quantity, number greater than, let's say 10, maybe 10 units. So here it is giving me only records that are greater than 10 units for the two brands. And then I may now come in and say sort A to Z, so that within the filter, I can also do a sort. So you see that combination. Within filter, I'm able to do a sort. So I filtered here, came up with Chanel and Vera Bradley. I said, okay. After that, I went and selected records that are greater than 10 units and gave me that. Then later I came and did a sort A to Z, or I can change it to Z to A now. So you see that, that's how it is. I can also sort by date from oldest to newest, and then back maybe to that. So you see, this is arranged in chronological order, which one came first, depending on the brand, and then everything else. So you can do a combination of sort with your filter. Okay, so much of sort and filter. I think it's time. Then you can, if you want, you can always copy your records, because this could be what you're looking for. So when you click Ctrl+C, if your lines are not running around like that to show that it is only copying visible cells only, because sometimes there's a tendency when you copy and take it to another worksheet, it brings even the records that are in the background. But I think that is for the older versions of Excel. So what you need to do is, when you highlight the cells you want to copy, go back to your Home tab, go to Special, you remember that tool, or you simply click F5, then Special, That's this time, instead of going for blanks, you are going for visible cells only. And then, okay. So then you are able to copy that. And it will leave the one in the background, and then it will bring that information as it is. And when you paste, it will only come like that. So I hope you find that one useful. Let's go to another feature, another tool in Excel. So we want to summarize this information by market, okay? And we want to see how many units were sold in that market, okay? So if that's the intention we want to do, then there's a tool called subtotal. The subtotal command allows us to automatically create groups and use common functions like sum, count, average, etc., etc., to summarize our data. Ordinarily, what I've seen most people do is they will struggle, first come here, sort A to Z, then they start coming manually and inserting a row there and adding up the quantity. I think that's tedious. If you know Excel and how much it can do for you, you don't have to do that. What you need to do is you want a report by market. So yes, first thing is come and sort that field market by A to Z. That is in ascending order. Okay, that is rule number one. Once you have done that, you go to your data tool, data tab. Okay. Now to the right here, you will see subtotal. When you click it, it will bring this subtotal dialog box. At the top here, it says at each change in, and of course it's reading your database from left to right. So it starts with the field that is in the leftmost. So this is at each change in. What should be here is the field you sorted. So here we want to report by market, and we sorted our records by market. So you make sure that here it is market. Then use function. What do you want to do? You have several options there. You want to do a sum. You can also do a count. You can do an average. You can look for the maximum, the minimum, the product. All those options are available to you. But for now, let's use the sum. Okay. So we want to go sum our records by market, which we sorted. And we want to sum what? The quantity. Okay, so we want to see how many units were sold. So once that is done, I say, okay. So you see, at the end of it, what you do manually by creating a row here, Excel has automatically done it. At the end of east, it puts an empty row and says east total, and it brings a total there, a subtotal. Then it goes to north, it says north total, and here it inserts a subtotal. And if you double click, you'll see that that subtotal just picks right from there. Okay, and it does that for all your records up to the bottom. Then at the bottom, after west total, so this is a subtotal for on the west, it also inserts a grand total. So grand total is now for all your subtotals there. Okay. Then it also creates a group and outline here and adds a 1, 2, and 3. Now a 1 brings only the grand total. So it hides everything and only shows you the grand total. A 2 will only show you the subtotals for each region. So you can see this is for each region. Then when you do 3, you have your report as it were before. So that tool is very useful if you want to have quick subtotals of your data based on a certain criteria. Okay? Patrick Mwebaze Kahinza, while sorting at multiple levels, do you have to highlight the whole data set? No. You just click one cell, Excel knows it is a database, and we work with the entire database. Then Gerard Okrol says, Godfrey, please talk us through advanced filter as well. Thanks, Gerard Okrol. Okay, I'll do that. So you have your records now in that. So depending on which report you want, if you want only subtotals, click 2 to give you that group. If you want everything else, that. If you only want grand total, that. So after you have inserted your subtotals, maybe you no longer want them, you want to remove them. So the procedure is the same. You go to data, subtotal. Then at the bottom here, you'll see remove all. So when you click remove all, it removes all the subtotals, and you can see it has now removed everything. Okay, for Crowley was saying advanced filter. Advanced filter is nothing more than what we had seen before, only that it probably allows you to copy the records to another cell or something. So for example, here we had said we can sort, we can filter this data. Maybe you want to say to just see cells by Annette and Kenneth. Okay, so those two salesmen, and we want to see their sales for the region north. Okay, here we only have one record. Okay, let's use that. So this is what advanced filter will give you. But for it to work, you need to have a criteria outside here. Okay, so the criteria is, say for example, I have salesman and market. So I'll copy these two headings, put them somewhere here. So salesman, we said we want sales by Annette and Kenneth. So I'll copy those two, add them below my salesman. And then we said we can pick any region here for the market. So this area here is going to be my criteria for advanced filter. So how do you run advanced filter? You click any cell in your database, go to your data tab, and you'll see advanced filter is there. So advanced, click on it. So filter the list in place, or do you want to filter it in place, or do you want to copy to another location? For now, I'll just say, let's filter it in place. Okay. The list range, it's already highlighted automatically because it is a database, so Excel senses the database. Then the criteria range, I'll come and select that portion there. And remember to lock your references. Okay. So we lock that reference, and you can choose unique records only. This means if there's a duplicate to remove. So for now, let's just leave that and then say, okay. So you see, it has been able to filter this. Why did it put Kenneth in there? This was Annette and Kenneth. So Annette is there. Oh, I think I forgot to say that Kenneth should also come with this. So my apologies for that. So here, even Kenneth needs the east there. I forgot to put that. So let's go back and do advanced. Criteria is that. Then you say, okay. So you see, it only gives you records for Kenneth and Annette for the region east. Now, if you had selected copy to another range, you would have pointed where you take this and would automatically take that. But the question on my side is, why suffer with this when I can actually filter this using my normal filters? The choice is yours. Okay? So we have looked at the subtotal tool. Let's try to look at another feature in Excel. Very powerful, especially if you intend to do more with this. But maybe before I go to that one, let's look at dates, because dates are very important. Let's understand dates. There's no accounting transaction that does not have a date tag to it. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to report that transaction in the period that it falls. So all accounting transactions have a date tagged to it. But most times, we as accountants either don't understand dates, especially in Excel, or whoever taught us dates did not go a long way to tell us what dates are, but just told us type a number, separate it with a slash or dash or dots, and move on. And a lot of people I've seen have done that. And analyzing their data has become a disappointment. So first things first, what are dates? Dates are numbers. If you didn't know that, know it from today. A date is a number, and this number starts from 1st January. So what you type as your 1st January 1900. Okay, so 1st January 1900 is allocated number 1. So if I type 1st January 1900, I come to my home tab and apply the comma style there, you see that becomes a 1. So dates start counting from that. So for today's date, which I can quickly do with my control semicolon, this date here, 10/30/2020. When you do your control semicolon and you get that date, pay a lot of attention to it. What comes first? For me, it is the month coming first, then the day, then the year. Yours may be the day first, then the month, and then the year. So this is very important, because if you enter wrong dates, like we'll see between column A, which has the right dates for my side here, and column K, which has the wrong date formatting, you'll see that the two are totally different. So if I format this also as a number, you'll see it is 44,000 days, 134 days since 1st January 1900. I know a lot of people like disputing this, but you can try your simple arithmetic, divide that by about 365, and you'll see what that that's what you get. So we are going to move those number of days since 1st January 1900. So if we know dates are numbers, then we need to enter them in their correct format. And I've just said that you need to pay a lot of attention to that when you do your control semicolon. Okay. So a date has three components. It has a day, it has a month, and it has a year. And this can be easily extracted using simple formulas. For example, this is day, you have month, and then you have year. So here, if you want to get the day, the formula is simple, equals day, open brackets, point to that date, and it will tell you 30. If you want the month, equals month, open bracket, point to that date, close brackets, enter, and it will tell you that is 10, and equals year, open bracket, point to that date, close brackets, enter. So you are able to extract the components of that date, and you can also bring them back together by saying equals date, and then you follow the year, comma, the month, comma, and then the day, close brackets, and enter. What did I do? Oh, sorry, I pointed to the wrong. Okay. So that's about your date. Okay. Now, here you see that these dates are entered in the correct format. And when I expand this column, you see that all dates here are aligned to the right because they are numbers actually. Dates are numbers, so numbers align to the right. But here where I've reversed the dates, you'll see that somebody was actually asking why are some on the right, others on the left. The ones on the right are where the month is less than 12. Okay? I mean where the day is less than 12. So for it is assuming that is a month. The ones on the left, you'll find that the day is actually above 12. So Excel just knows those are text. So the big question is, what happens when you get data with dates even like these ones in column K? Assuming we did not have the ones in column A, how would we actually turn these column K dates into useful information for analysis? Now, a lot of people will come up with all kinds of things. That those will say, go to text and then split this into, since there is a dash there, split it into 3 columns and then join them using the date function. Yes, that is one option, but quite tedious. Okay, so the other thing is there's a tool actually in Excel. So if I highlight all these dates, so these dates are in which format? They are in the British kind of date format, where it is day, month, year. So I go to my data tab there. I find text columns. A lot of people use this only to split data, nothing more. But it has a lot of power in it that you need to explore. So text columns delimited, I go to next. I skip that one and just hit next. So where it comes to date here, okay? I need to tell Excel that the dates I have are in that format of day, month, year. And then I say finish. And instantly, even if they were 100,000, you can see that they are now all aligned to the left. Okay? I hope that is useful. So that's why I put here these dates, just to sort of like show you how you can deal with those dates if they come in the wrong format. Okay? Now, the other feature in Excel that is very powerful that you need to know is the table feature, Excel tables. Excel tables were introduced with Excel 2007. Before that, we used to have Excel lists, which were not as dynamic as Excel tables. But with the coming of Excel, especially from 2007, the table feature came in. Okay. So now, if I have this data, for example, and I wanted to get my sales, my amount of sales, ordinarily I would have to multiply my quantity times the price. Isn't that so? So when I enter, I still have a lot of work to do to copy this formula down. And every time I enter a new record, okay? So if I enter the new record here, I don't remember to copy this formula down, this record would miss the amount. But now when you use tables, that is not a problem. So let's look at tables and how to change our data set here into a table. So when you go to insert, to the left here, you see pivot table recommended, but there is table there. Okay. So to access the table feature, you go to insert and then click on table there, or you use the shortcut Control T. So this will create a table to organize and analyze related data. So before I do it, I've switched off the filters here, they are not there. Let me also try to remove, okay, I can leave the colors, maybe we need them. I've switched off the filters. You can see other than these two colors, the rest is just white and black. So when I switch on the filters to insert table, the first thing it says, where is the data for your table? So the data is what I have here, and you can see a dotted line all around it. The 26 record rows there, so it is from A1 to L26, that's okay. So my table has headers. What is in the first row here? These are my headers. And I have to make sure that my table has headers is ticked. If I don't, Excel will assume this is also data and will create another row above it and put column 1, column 2, column that. So I say, okay. So don't you just ignore that error and say, okay. So you see, the formatting has changed. What was just simply black and white, we now have those banded rows of black and light blue. You can see the filters are automatically switched on. The header, the font color for the header has changed. I didn't do that. The table feature did it. And if I don't like the style I'm seeing, maybe I'm averse to certain colors. Under design, when you click in the table, it has its own menu. You'll see table tools. Then you can see under design, you can choose from different styles there. So as I hover my cursor over them, you can see that the color changes. So depending on your corporate color, because some corporations or some institutions prefer certain colors to others, depending on what the guidelines in your institution are, you can check, you can change, or you can even create your own style. For now, I'll leave it at where it is. So when you switch on the table feature, again, we have the filters just like we're doing. We can sort, we can filter, we can do everything just like we saw before. So now let's come and do our amount here. When I type amount and I enter, you realize that that is automatically, the table is automatically extended. Okay. So whatever I do here is recognized as part of this data. So when I come and now say equals the quantity times the price, you'll see Excel, immediately I enter, all that is copied automatically up to the bottom. This was not part of the original data, that's why it is stopping there. But when I remove this, now for whatever comes here, let me type my name here, or let me put today's date. If I put there today's date and enter, you find that the table has automatically extended immediately I entered. And you'll find that the formula here is already populated, waiting for inputs. So that is how quickly tables help us to work with data. And besides that, because data is dynamic, it keeps changing. When you're using features like pivot tables to analyze this data, it's recommended you always change your data set into a table so that any new information that comes in is automatically detected and added. And all you need to do is refresh your pivot table. Okay. So if you have questions, please use the Q&A. I'll keep checking there. Now, tables have some benefits, like we saw those drop-down lists, the headings that are now enable us to do the sort and filter. And of course, we have seen that a table is capable of expanding and shrinking automatically when you add or remove your data or some data. The built-in styles, like I was showing you, if you have a certain corporate color that you want to use, and there are certain restrictions on which colors you can use for your information, the designs are there. We have seen that formulas automatically fill once new information comes in. You can switch on your total row. When you go to table tools, you can switch on the total row, and you'll see that here it automatically now puts a row for totals, and this uses, you can do other things other than just getting the sum. You can do average, count numbers, maximum, all those are there. And like I've said, if you are using pivot tables, the best way to go is tables. But of course, good as it is, it has some drawbacks which you need to be aware of. For example, you cannot do what we did before, the subtotals. You can't do them here. You can't do subtotals within a table, because like you have seen, you enter a formula, it is automatically copied. Subtotals will have different formulas at different levels, so it can't handle that. Then here I've already switched off the structured reference, maybe for some people trying to test theirs from wherever they are. They need to know how to switch or what a structured reference is. Let me just go back to it. Formulas. So what a structured reference, if you are just switching on your tables for the first time, when you do equals quantity, you see here it says equals square bracket at quantity, close square bracket, times price. So square bracket at price, close that. So it is not the normal cell referencing we're used to. And when it comes to locking cells, this one becomes a very difficult thing to do. So if you're thinking of locking certain cells, you find that it's not possible to do this. And a lot of people still don't understand this structured referencing. So when you enter, it will still give you the same thing, but some people don't understand this. They prefer the old way of doing things. So to switch off the structured referencing, you go to File, Options, Formulas, and then you find under Working with Formulas, where it says Use Table Names in Formula, you untick that. So this will take you back to our old way of doing things, which is equals G2 times I2. These ones we can easily relate because we have grown up seeing this. But this does not discredit the structured references. They are very good actually, because then you can actually tell what you're multiplying with. So you can actually tell that you're actually multiplying your quantity times price when you're using structured references. Okay. The other drawback is that I can't move this table out of this workbook until I turn it into a range, normal range. So that's a drawback. And if I protect this worksheet, the table feature does not expand automatically, so new data may not be captured. And of course, it will also give a problem to my pivot tables when they refresh. For as long as the worksheet that has a table that is feeding the pivot tables is locked, then refreshing on the other side also gets problems. Okay. All right. So that's about tables. Very good, very powerful. Let's move on to another feature. So for example, there's a new feature, not new, this is a very old one, right from Excel 97, conditional formatting. For example, here we have cells. Okay, when I check here, it is the lowest is 13.3 and the highest is 631. So I may want to highlight certain characteristic from this data. Okay. For example, I may want to say from this cell here, from this range, I want to identify or to highlight certain characteristics. So the conditional formatting feature enables us to apply special formatting to cells in our spreadsheet. And of course, that formatting applies to cells that meet a defined criteria. Most times we use color-based formatting to highlight these characteristics. And of course, this helps us to visually read off information. For example, I want to highlight in this column cells that are above maybe $500. So I'll come to home, that's where the conditional formatting is. In the middle there, there's conditional formatting. Then there's highlight cell rules. So there's greater than, less than, between, equal to. Okay? If you are looking in text, there will be text that contains or dates occurring on a certain dates, or duplicate values. But let's go to greater than. So I want to highlight cells that are greater than 500. So when I type 500 there, I define the color that I want there. If I'm not happy with all these colors, I can do my own custom, but let me go with light red fill. So I say, okay. So when I move through this, you'll find that I only have 2 records that meet that criteria with cells above 500. So that can again enable me to use my filters by color, pick that color, and you'll see that I'm able to filter out that criteria. Okay. We can also do for dates. I can highlight these dates. Then I go to conditional formatting, highlight cells, then a date occurring. If, say, this was live data, I would say in the last 7 days. But since this is not live, I can't use any of these. For text, if I highlight that, conditional formatting, highlight cells, I can go to text that contains, okay? Say, for example, I'm only looking for American Express, or maybe I'm looking for check. Okay. So I'm looking for text that contains the word check. I say okay, and you'll see that where there is bank check, that is highlighted. And again, if you want only those records, you can switch on your filters and then command by color. So filter by color, and you filter that out. But that's not all you can do with this. We'll see a lot of this again when we come to more deeper analysis using pivot tables. But besides this, you may not just want to highlight a record where it is. You may, for example, want to highlight all the green colored cells. Okay. So if I highlight this, but the highlighting I want to do is I want it to apply to the entire database, so that if this is green, okay, if this cell H3 is green, then I want the formatting to apply to the entire row, maybe like that, so that wherever I'm standing, I can easily read off this information. So what I'll do is let me first remove these other colorings, so that other than conditional. So remove all the colors so that we don't distort. So I want, if I identify green here, the whole row should be flagged green. So what I'll do is select that range, go to conditional formatting. This time I'll not use highlight cell rules. I'll not use the bottom or data tables or whatever. I will come to that. but I'll come to new rule. I want to create my own rule, and it's very important that you learn to create your own rules, because sometimes this is the only way you want to be able to extract what you want. So I want to use a formula to determine that. And the formula I want to use is a simple one. Here it will be equals. So I go to my data. I click the first one below color. But when I click, it comes with that fixed cell referencing. So I make sure it is on the $H2 is equal to, and I want in inverted commas, green. So if that cell is equal to green, okay, so what that formula says, if H2 is equal to green, then I want to format that row. I will fill it with green. Then I say okay, and then okay. Oh, I didn't specify where to apply, sorry. So this will be manage rule. Applies to, the applies to should be to the entire table. Okay. So you see, wherever it is green, you see the whole database is, the entire row is flagged. Okay. So that's very important. So then if you just want to filter out your greens, you can just by color pick the green, and you'll see that only that is able to help you pick out what you want. But most importantly, it is even without the filter, you are able to just run your eye through the database and know that the greens are that much. Okay. Okay, let's now look at more interesting stuff here. I'll come back on to that conditional formatting at a later stage. But let's look at something that keeps disturbing us in real analytics. I have here data file 1 and data file 2. Okay. So data file 1 has 26 rows. Data file 2 has 16 rows. But I'm not sure what is missing from data file 2 that is in data file number 1. Now, if I was just, say, for example, doing a simple comparison of, say, months here like this, okay, and I have one list there and another one there, okay, because these are unique records, so it is easy to compare these two using, say, for example, conditional formatting. Because I would highlight this list and then highlight this second list, and then come to my conditional formatting and highlight where it is duplicates. I may not want duplicates, I may want to see unique. So whatever is highlighted means is missing from the other list, so unique, and then you will see that these two are missing from the other. But now here, you have records going across, okay? And even here, you have records going across. So meaning each of these must be examined for you to be sure that this is a duplicate, okay? Now, there are formulas that we can use. The first formula, if I had a list like this, would be, say, for example, to come here and match this list with this list using a formula called match. So if I come here equals match. So what match does is to return a relative position of an item in a range that matches a specified criteria. So what match does here, for example, if I match this January, okay, with what is in list number 2, and I lock that, and I want an exact match which is 0, it will tell me January is the first item there. But if I copy down, you see when it comes to June and July, it says hash NA, meaning these two are not in the second list. Okay. So if my interest is in identifying what is missing in the second list, I would come for these hash NAs. Okay. Or I can decide to change these two, either true or false, by changing these two is number, close brackets. So if I put is number, if it is is NA is not available. So you see, it tells me that the false, those are available, the true ones are not available in the second list. So how do we do that if we had information like this? We must then create a row and a column in the first and second databases. So here I'll say, I'll merge, because we saw in the introduction part to this course, we said for you to do analytics, you must be able to merge certain columns together. And by merge, I'm not talking about that merge where you people highlight and then merge. No, we're talking about combining records from different columns to be able to have one text string, then to be able to analyze. So what this merge is going to do is have all these records as a single text string. So for us to be able to do that, there is a formula, concatenate. So it sounds like a tongue twister. So the formula is equals concatenate. This one will join different texts up to 256 times. So here we only have up less than even 20 times, so that is very easy. So equals concatenate, joins several text strings into one text string. When you open bracket, it says text string number 1. So we'll start with the date, comma, the salesman, comma, the market, comma, the brand, comma, the size, comma, age, comma, quantity, comma, color, comma, price, comma, payment type, comma, reverse date if you wanted it. If you don't want it, that one you can skip, because that one was just put there for demonstration purposes, comma. Then move the last comma and close brackets. So it will give you a very long text string. So this becomes a single text string. So if you copy this down, you'll find that wherever you go, you are able to now see that those are the text strings you have combined. So since this is arranged in the same order, I can just copy this, Control C, bring it to text file number 2, because they're exactly the same order. Put it there, and then test to see that it is picking from this database. Okay. Now, sometimes you join and this text string is just too long that you can't fit. Because this is just for you to be able to analyze data. It's not very important, so you can reduce the font to as small as 1, so that is just something small. I just normally reduce this font to a 1. So it is there, but I mean, you are not going to read it. It's just supposed to help you analyze. So you have this range here with that. So you're going to compare that with this one. Okay. So then we go and now use our match. So I want to match this cell with all the items that are in this range here, starting from, without including the heading here. Okay, so I come and say equals match. So I'm matching the text string I put in that cell, comma, with this range of text strings in the second file, F4. F4 is to create a fixed reference, absolute reference, comma. I want an exact match, comma, and then enter. So you see, where there's NA, it means these records are not available in the second file. Where you find the numbers, it means those records are available in the second file. Okay? So if you examine this, you'll find that all those ones that are NA, let's try to filter them. So let me filter these. Those that have hash NA. So if I filter these and copy them to the other side, and I copy them here, and I try to use our conditional formatting, highlight duplicates. Oh, sorry. Should have been from this, from the merge side of it. Conditional formatting, highlight duplicates. You'll find that there's no duplicate there because what I brought in was not here in the first place. So it can't be a duplicate. So that's very important. Is NA, I mean match, to be able to identify your duplicate numbers and also be able to identify other things. Now let's also go in and do some other arithmetic here using our formulas. Let me see if there are any questions here. Godfrey, please walk us through that one I did. My company encourages us to use Google Sheets, which I find limited compared to MS Excel. Does Google Sheets also have the same Excel functions? You can use Excel and save it as Google Sheets. It's okay. So I don't know, maybe your company is remotely based somewhere. That's why they're encouraging you to use Google Sheets. but your Excel file can also be saved as a Google Sheet. But there are limitations in using Google Sheets. You can't do as much analysis as we're doing here because the functions there are a bit limited in application. So the best thing you can do is get your information out of Google Sheets, bring it back into Excel, and experience the power and flexibility of using Excel. And then you can send back your results in whatever format they request. So I think the Google Sheets for you is more of a database that your company is encouraging you to keep the information there. But when it comes to real analysis, you have to pull it out and bring it into real Excel environment and then run it. Okay, so let's look at simple things that we can do, simple analytics. Say, for example, we want to get more sense out of this data. We have, if I copy regions here, I don't know how many they are. Control C. So I want to find out how many regions are here. So I paste all my regions here. So I have regions here, but I don't know how many they are. I want to remove any duplicates and only remain. If it is east, east should appear only once. If it is west, it should only come once. So where you don't know how many items are there, don't go through looking for this one, you copy and paste here, just copy everything. Then come to your data tab. And then there's a feature here, remove duplicates. So it will just come and remove. It took east here as a header, so that's why it is appearing twice. So this should be region. So you see I have 4 regions here. Okay. East, north, south, west. So if I wanted to know this total sales, how would I quickly know if I was not using what we used the other time? If I was not using the subtotals, I just wanted a small table that shows me total sales. So here we need to learn another formula, which also came, it has been around, even 97 had it, sum if. So this is a formula that will only sum data if a certain condition is met. So here, if I say equals, if I go to equals, here, if you look at our database, we have east, north, south, west. These are regions. And these regions are in column C. That's where we find all our regions. They're in column C. So we'll examine column C, and wherever Excel finds east, it will come to amount and add up. If it finds another east there, it will come to the amount and add up. And this does not have to be sorted in any order. So maybe let me disorganize this a little so that people don't say, but the other one was sorted. Okay, so I think I've mixed it up a bit. So this market in column C does not have to be sorted. It can be anywhere, but as long as it is still within column C. So Excel will examine this. So wherever it finds east, it will look for how much is on east, and then it will add up that value. So the syntax is simple. Equals sum if, open brackets. The first thing is the range. And by range, it means where in our database do we find east, which is our criteria actually. Where in our database should we be able to find that criteria east? So we know it is column C. So I click on the first record in column C without the header, Control Shift arrow key down, select that entire column, F4, lock it, comma, then criteria. So when it goes through that range, what do you want Excel to pick out? Criteria is East, so I want it to pick this item, East. This one I will not lock because when I copy the formula to the next row, I want it to pick out North, South, and West. So this one I don't lock, comma. So when Excel examines column C and finds the criteria East, what do you want it to add up? That's the sum range. So what I want to add up are the amounts. I click on the first amount in M2, Control Shift arrow key down, select all the items in that column, and then F4, lock it. Now, be careful. Here it is C2 to C26. Here it is going C2 to C27. So it is overlapping by one cell. That can cause problems. So I have to bring it to 26 to align. Okay. Then close brackets and enter. So here it tells me in East we sold 1022.04. So if I copy this down, you'll find that each region has its own cells. Okay. Any questions here? Not yet. So that is a single criteria sum using sum if. But what if we wanted to bring this to another level and say, we want to see the sales for that for males and females. So we want to split this figure into male and female for each of the region. It's getting more interesting, eh? So here sum if, this sum if formula will not be able to do what we want to do here. But from Excel 2007, we have a new one called sum ifs. Now sum ifs allows you to analyze more than a single criteria. Whereas sum if only looks at one single criteria, sum ifs allows you to examine more than one criteria. So the formula for it is, or the syntax is equals sum ifs, open brackets, the sum range. Remember the other one started with range. This one this time starts with sum range. So this time it starts with sum range, and that is, we want to add up the amounts. Okay. F4. So I go for that range and lock it, comma. Then says criteria range 1. So my first criteria is to find a column where East, North, South, and West are. That is column C. So I come column C where my market is. Control Shift, arrow key down, F4, comma. Then criteria 1, if it goes through that range, it should be able to find East as my first criteria. Now here I'm going to copy this formula to the right. I don't want it to leave column P, so I'll make sure that there is a $sign before P. So I click my F4, 1, 2, 3, comma. Criteria range 2. So I want to find out the range where my males and females are. That is column L. So I highlight that, Control Shift arrow key down, F4. Goes through that range, it should be able to find male, which is in row number 3. And as I copy to the right or down, I want it row number 2. I want it to maintain row number 2, so I do F4 2 times and leave it at that. And then close brackets, enter. So if we add these two, we should be able to get the same value as the total sales. So you can see that these two, that one and this one have to be exactly the same. Okay. So with some ifs, you can do as many criteria as you want. It depends on how smart your thinking is, so that you don't confuse up a lot of things. Because if you mix up things, then it's also going to be a challenge. The other quick things you can pick from here is, say for example, let's say we want to pay commission to our agents. Okay. Let me start with a very basic one. Okay. So we want to pay commission to our agents. And the way we want to pay this commission, for East, for sales in the West, we'll pay 0. Okay? So we want to exclude sales in the West, but for all the others, we'll pay commission of 5%. So here you will have to use a logical function. And by logical function, we mean those formulas that use these logical operators. The first logical operator is equals. Equals. The next one is greater than. The other one is less than. The other one is greater or equal to. Then there is less or equal to. And then there is not equal to. So when you use these logical operators, the result will either be a true or false. For example, if you say equals 100 is equal to 100, it will tell you true. If you say equals 100 is less than 100, it will tell you false. So the result will always be either a true or false. And the formulas that use these are either the if or and. These three are the ones that commonly use these logical operators. So here we are going to use first the if, okay, to see that the sales are not coming from the West. So here the formula will be equals if, you open brackets. So we need to bring in our logical argument. And our logical argument is that this cell here, C2, is not, in inverted commas, I type West. So if that cell is not West, then we want to get the sales amount times 5%. Close brackets. Enter. Or to avoid the false the other side, I could have also put comma 0 to say that if the other coming from the West, then it should show 0. So you see, all sales from the West, if it is not West, then pay commission of 5%, otherwise 0. So if we come now and filter this by West, we should not have anything coming from the West earning a commission here. That's what that formula means. So it is computing commission for all the other regions except West. Okay? The other, you can change this again. What if I have two regions that I want to exclude? Then I need to bring in the AND function or the OR function. So here, if the region is not west, sorry, it should be if and then AND, because AND now becomes my logical argument, and C is not west, comma, and this one is also not, maybe north. So those two we are not paying commission. So the AND becomes now the logical argument. So this one will now be the one that will result in either a true or false. And by using AND, it means both must be true. So it is not west and it is not north. So both of them must be true, comma. Then I can now comfortably say get amount times 5%, comma, or if that is true, if that is not true, then take 0%. So you see now, if we come and filter out west and north, we should not have any commissions paid in those regions. Okay. All right. So what if, just want to put this in a little perspective. If I have these commission rates here by quantity, if somebody sells between 0 and 10, he gets 2.5. Between 10 and 15, 5%. Between 15 and 20, 7.5%. And then above 20, 10%. How would you do this? Yes, you can use the if, but it will be a nested if. It will be very long and complex, and I think it doesn't help much. But we'll try to use a more simplified approach using VLOOKUP. So what is VLOOKUP? VLOOKUP is a very useful formula to look up your data and it's one of those very important formulas that we as accountants must learn. And of course, the other most important one is the sum if and sum ifs, like you have just seen. So VLOOKUP looks up a specified value in the leftmost column. So for this purpose, a value in the leftmost column, this is going to be our leftmost column of a table. This is our table, this entire table here. That's our table. And returns the value in the same row. So if we have something we're looking for, which is like 10, to return the value in the same row that matches that 10 from a specified column. So that. Now, VLOOKUP, most times we do exact match. And most users of VLOOKUP only stop at exact match. But for this training, I want us to go into the approximate match. So I'll not be going into the exact match. I'll be looking more into the approximate match. So approximate match, as you can see here, there's no, if I sell two items, there's no two in this table. But Excel should be able to approximate and tell me that 2 falls between 0 and 10. And so it gives me a commission of 2.5. So that's what approximate match does. So if we go back, if we want to use this in our formula, the best approach is to name that range. So I'll just call this commission. So this name commission that I've created, I'll be able to use it in my formula instead of coming back referring to this table and having to do all the cell referencing and all that. So to learn more about names, please go and find material either on the website or come for our trainings. You can contact us, we'll tell you how to get there. So let's do here commission again. This is commission 3. So want to check if the quantity is 1, then the commission rate will be 2.5. If somebody sells above 15, 7.5. If he sells above 20 units, 10%. So how do we do that? We'll come here and say equals, use the VLOOKUP, equals VLOOKUP, open brackets. What are we looking for? For the quantity sold here, comma, from that table we name the commission. This is how your names come into your formula, comma, and we want to return the commission rate, which is in column number 2. And for exact match, we don't go ahead and put false, just close the bracket there. So when you do that, you see to give you all those percentages. These are percentages. It's just a question of formatting. So it's just a question of formatting. So this one gets 10% sold 20 units. You see that? And in here, anything from 20 units, 20 and above, 10%. This one sold 1, 2.5. When you look at our table, anything below 10, 2.5%. So that's how this table works. So then if you want the amount, you can now multiply this times your amount. And these are not percentages anymore. These should be absolute values. So formatting. So always formatting will do that for you. So that's how it works. So let me do the last one. This is where it looks at, you have, each region has its own commission structure for each of the products. So you have this table here. Each product has its commission. So for Vera Bradley, you have in the West, in the like that. So these marketeers have mapped out their regions and are saying the salesman can get this. Maybe it's for South, for certain specific reasons. Those guys are earning a bit higher than all the other regions. So you need to map this into your database and calculate the commission. So VLOOKUP can't do this for you, because VLOOKUP can only look from left to right and can only look for a single criteria. Here you are moving left to right, but you also have regions. You have more than a single criteria. So VLOOKUP can't do that for you. So the best way we can use this is use index and match, which is the more advanced function to do lookups. So here we have 3 things we need to look at. Here we're going to, we have this region where the percentages are. Let me just give it a different color. That area there. So maybe I'll call that range 1. When you're creating these names, don't put any spaces. So that is my range 1. Then I have this where I'm going to match. Maybe range 2. then I have, let me also give this one a unique color so that you are able to tell. Then I have that one also, which I'm also going to match. So this is, I'm going to call this range 3. If you're good at cell referencing, you don't have to bother with this range naming, but it is also good. So what the index is going to do is we'll index this green area, okay, and then match what is in our database here to do with brand, the brand here. So it will look at this brand and then says, where can I get this brand? What position is this brand in this table here? So it comes and says, Vera brand is item number 1. So it will just tell me that one is the first one in that row. Then it looks for the region West. Where is it placed in that range? Is it the first, or second, third, or fourth? So what index will do, after indexing this, I also need a match to give me the positions of whatever is in my table from this list and from that list. So index alone cannot work without the match, unless if I know what I'm looking for physically. So I need to combine index and match, and let's go. So this is the last one I'm doing, commission. So our equals index. The range we index, we call it range 1, comma. So I need the row number for this brand Michael Kors. So I'll do a match this item, which is in D2, comma, from my range 2, comma, and I need an exact match, so I put a 0, comma. Then I also need the column number where the region, because when you come to this table here, my columns are in, my regions are in columns. So I need to know which column number this north is sitting. So I'll come and put here match this region. Okay. Comma, from range 3, comma, I want exact match 0. So I close the match, and then so this is match. Okay, so then I close index. So it is going to run through that range 1, and by matching the product, that's the brand, to find the position Michael Kors is and the region from that table, it will get the intersection and give me a percentage. Yes, enter C. So this one says 6%, 0.06. So it was Michael Kors North. So if we come here, Michael Kors is there and North is there. So that is 6%. So that's how accurate it does. So it will look for a product, get the row number it is, and get the region, get the column number it is, and then the intersection is what it brings here. So then you can now multiply this by your amount, and you have your commissions there. Wow, this has been quite some calculations there. Let's move in to something a little easier to wind down. Pivot tables, the most interesting part, probably. Now, pivot tables is a data analysis tool, the most useful probably. It can quickly answer many important questions about your business data. And it is used to summarize, sort, reorganize, group, count, subtotal, or average your data. It allows us to transform columns into rows and rows into columns. So you can easily pivot, move from one side to another. We'll see how that works. And we can group certain fields using advanced calculation and use advanced calculations. It's not the first time we're doing pivot tables, but of course there are new people joining this class who have never been here before. And I did mention that if you're going to run pivot tables, always have your data as a table. So maybe just for those who joined late, how do you turn your data into a table? For example, if I have data like this, first make sure that it is surrounded by empty spaces. So this should not join that. So this empty row is very helpful if you don't want to join it with that. And there should be nothing down here also. So there you're okay. So to insert a table here, not the pivot table yet, a table, to turn this into a table, shortcut is Ctrl+T. My data has headers, okay? So that's what we mean. So this is a table. And the beauty of this is that as you add more records, they're automatically picked by your pivot table and you only need to refresh. So let's import, let's create a pivot table. How do you create a pivot table? You can either go to Insert, the left there you'll see pivot table, or if you want shortcuts, it is Alt+NV. And then here it is, you see it is based on a table. So here it says table 1. It says okay. Okay, this is a pivot table now. On this side, we have our pivot table fields. And this is where we write our report from. In here is where our report appears when we write it. So we either drag and drop fields into these 4 quadrants, or we right click and select where they should go. So before you run a pivot table, you must have an idea of what is it you want to actually portray. What is it you want to analyze? For example, we did some work here. Let's try to look at this report we created. So we did, first was sales by region. We did using SUMIF. Then we did sales by region and gender using SUMIFs. So we want to see whether pivot tables can give us the same and how fast that can happen. So we need to have our regions listed in rows. Okay, so to do that, you come to your table, pivot table fields here. You find that field header called region. It was market. So market, you either right click, add it to row labels, and instantly you can see east, north, south, and west appearing there. Okay. Then we wanted sales, that is the amount. So right click amount, add it to values. And instantly we have that. No complex calculations. So we can now compare. What did we get here? Let me just copy this. So you can see 102240. You can see that this is exactly what we got using our sum if, and this is what we get using our pivot table. Same numbers. Okay. So that is the first one. PT1. I can again come back. Now we want to do the second one where we have region, then we have the gender, and then we have the cells, and see whether we'll get exactly the same information again. So the shortcut again was Alt NV. I'll name this PT2. So this time we want market. You can also drag and drop it there if you don't remember to right click. So we want market in rows, and we want gender. Gender goes into columns here. So you see female, male. This blank is because of this, there's a blank cell in my data, so I'll clean it out. And then amount, you can drag this and drop in values. So let me just remove this blank. So again, you can compare the two. If I bring this, just here, you'll see that again, this is exactly what we had. Female, they are there. And then the males are there. So you have your males here, compare these with this. And then you have your females here, with that. So it is exactly the same. If you want the males to appear first, you can always move this, right click, move, and so that if you want it to look exactly like that. Okay. So that is a simple one. We can do a lot other things from here. There are lots of analytics you can do with pivot tables. For example, if you right click, then you come here and say, show, summarize values by. So we're doing sum, you may wish to do count to see how many times. So if you do count, you see instantly that changes. Okay. Summarize values by, you can do average, and instantly you'll have an average. But now when you do this, you need to format these numbers so that you have maybe 2 decimal points. So right click, value field settings, number format, select a number format there, use 1000 separator, 2 decimal points, and then OK, and then OK. So you see, instantly that changes. So there's a lot in pivot tables. Actually, pivot tables alone can take us more than 3 hours. So squeezing everything on pivot tables in this 3-hour session on data analytics would be unfair, but I encourage you, please go and invest your time either online and explore a lot about pivot tables. You'll find them very useful, especially when you're analyzing huge amounts of data that your formulas can't actually fix. Okay. So let's look now at charts. You can actually combine your pivot table into a chart. For example, if we go to this PT1 I may want to see a visual presentation of my data here. So I come to insert, then in there, you'll find there's pivot chart, but I can as well click on any chart. It's okay. So if I click on that column, clustered column chart, you'll see instantly it gives me a chart there. Now, when you're dealing with charts, there are things you need to take care of. One is junk. If you're using a pivot table, these filters are already here. So you don't need probably to be showing these two on your chart. So you come to your field list here and then click on field buttons, click and then hide all. So you see when you do that, your chart expands a bit. Since this is one single item in here, you don't need this part of it in your chart, so you delete. So you find that that also expands your chart. Give it a title, and titles you can either have it reference to your pivot table or you can have it typed in. To reference to your pivot table, click on the chart title here, come to your formula bar there, type equals, then click in your pivot table where it says sum of amount, and then enter. So maybe that's what you wanted there. Then the other thing is your axis. You really need it. You have to decide. Since these are just single bars here, you may do away with the axis and switch on your data labels. So you bring your data up here. It is above your bars. So you can now switch off. You can actually now delete your axis. And for every step you do, you find that your chart looks better. Then these grid lines may not be useful. You also have to clean them out. So a chart is not complete until you have done the hard work of cleaning it out, giving it everything that it needs to show, so that people are able to read it and understand it. So I think that actually brings me to the end of this presentation. The Institute will be sharing a lot of these materials, the files I've used, plus there's a PDF file which has the whole presentation that I had. So within 3 hours, I think that's what we can squeeze in. Let me just check questions here. I've been answering most of them. Google Sheets, that one I answered. Shall we do e-fund? That one I did. Good session. Could you do a brief highlight on sampling? I'm not sure how much time is left on the other side. Maybe Ambrose will advise, because I was told this session should end by midday. And as I can see, it is just 1 minute away. When will the video and slides be shared for use to immediately after this training? I'm sure the Institute should be able to share that. Is it possible to compare budget and actuals using pivot tables? It depends on how you have actually kept your data. If you have it well prepared, it is sitting in one place, yes, it is very possible. HLOOKUP, please provide an overview. HLOOKUP is the reverse of VLOOKUP. For example, let me just do an example here. We had commission. So if I want to pay commission using the first row here. So let's say I want to pay commissions for each of those regions using that blue area there. So for West, 6%, for East, 7%, for South, 5%. Then in my data here, I'll be using HLOOKUP because my table here for the commission structure, this is horizontal. So if I say name this as COM2, so this blue area, I've named it COM2. So this will be HLOOKUP, it will come and look at COM2. If it finds waste, it goes to the second row and picks the commission structure. So I'll come here and say equals HLOOKUP. I'm looking for the region, which is in my market, comma, from that range I named COM2, comma, and I want it to return what is in the second row, comma, and I want an exact match, false, enter. So you'll see that for each region, it will pick the respective commission there. So if I want to multiply and get the value, I'll just multiply this by my sales amount. So that is how it is almost the reverse of VLOOKUP. Only that this time your table is not vertical, but is horizontal. I hope that answers the question. How are the slides going to be shared? The Institute is going to share that immediately after this training. Yeah, I think, thank you very much, participants. You have been an awesome audience. I hope I've been able to answer your questions to your satisfaction. And I hope you'll find use for the material in this training when it is shared. But like I told you, this is a very short session for what we have here. Please go out there and explore. There's a lot of material on YouTube. There's a lot of material on Mr. Google, sir. Go there and find solutions. Everything you are struggling with, somebody has already suffered through it and there's a solution there. And I'm sure if you are keen enough, if you are interested in learning Excel, you'll really be able to learn a lot. And like they say, these trainings, on day one, the retention is a bit high, but probably only at 25% retention. So practice. If you're not practiced, then probably you will not have invested your time and resources well. So please go out and practice what I've been able to share with you. My contact, for those who want my contacts, let me share. So my contact, there you are. So those are our contacts. Engage us. If you need training for your organization, we have awesome trainers. Engage us and we will sort you out. We don't only do just trainings, you may also be struggling with your ERPs and financial reporting, budgets or whatever it is. Or you may be a financial institution struggling with your IFRS 9 modeling. Please engage us. We have all these solutions there. Thank you very much. Over to you, Ambrose, for other communication.
Yeah, thank you so much, Godfrey, for a wonderful presentation on data analytics with Excel. We thank you for the useful insights, and we hope to continue engaging each other as we empower knowledge in our members. The participants, thank you so much for being engaging, for the good questions you have asked, and that shows you were following. We will share with you the presentations and the video through your email addresses, and there will also be a video on our YouTube channel for ICPAU. Please, you can go and watch, then you practice. We want you to know more data analytics because it is our current and future skill. Without it, we may not survive really, and therefore we must survive as we get more insights in data analytics. Our next webinar will be on international taxation and transfer pricing landscape in Uganda. Next week on Friday, 6 November, starting at 2. Kindly log in and attend. I want to thank you all and wish you the best. May God continue protecting you from this pandemic, and you continue meeting each other virtually and physically. All the best. Thank you.